Well, Tropical Storm Arthur is no more. It lasted less than 12 hours after making landfall in Texas earlier today, but it is still bringing that heavy rain to Louisiana. Thanks for joining us, everyone. I'm Sharice Gibson. Arthur is expected to drop heavy rain in our area overnight and due tomorrow morning. Flooding is the biggest concern for local and state leaders, and we have team coverage tonight with Sanana McCall. She's in St. Tammy Parish and Walker Lawson and Tango Parish, two areas expected to see some of the largest impacts in southeast Louisiana. But first, we want to get over to Chief Meteorologist Chris Franklin for an update on exactly how much rain we're expecting. Chris, the storm, though, is gone.
The storm is gone. Technically, the last advisory from the Hurricane Center, we do not have a track any longer. Never, though, was the center nor that cone of much concern to us. It was always going to be the thunderstorms, which were well removed from the center. Circulation really started to dissipate even as of the 4 o'clock advisory. They maintained at the Hurricane Center that is at 7 o'clock, but for the 10, they've said that low-level circulation just isn't there anymore. Now, unfortunately, that doesn't mean the storms magically disappear. However, it's been a encouraging trend to watch as those thunderstorms kind of fired up through much of the day today. The last couple of hours, they've really started to fall apart, not too far off of the Louisiana coastline. Doesn't mean they can't still refire as they get a little bit closer to us, and there is still quite a bit of heavy rain and lightning just offshore that's starting to already move right along the coastline, and more to come as we continue through the rest of tonight, the overnight, and into the early part of the day tomorrow. Exactly where some of the heaviest rain sets up is still somewhat of an uncertain, but the models have been consistent in taking a lot of this a little bit more toward the river parishes and then eventually onto the North Shore. Some scattered showers in both of those locations and more to come through the overnight. Just watching satellite and the intensity of the storms that are offshore, they have weakened over the last couple of hours, but we'll see whether or not they're able to refire as we go into the overnight hours. Now, the expectation is that more rain to come during the overnight hours, although this is a later computer model run. And as a matter of fact, it kind of backs off on just how much we see over southeast Louisiana, keeping kind of the Florida parishes, somewhat of the western river parishes, especially Ascension, Assumption, under somewhat of the bullseye. So we will see if this is a trend. I will show you coming up in just a moment some of the dry air that has really been helping us out with regard to weakening the storms before they move inland. More on that coming up.
All right, Chris, thanks so much. Parts of St. Tammany Parish already seeing some flooding as some river levels rise. These are pictures from the St. Tammany Fire District number 5, and it shows those floodwaters in the Folsom area earlier today. Sananda McCall joining us now live from Folsom. Sananda, do the conditions still look the same? Have the river's levels risen even more?
Hey, Sharice. Well, yes, those flooding conditions are still there. And actually, we came to an area of Folsom where a lot of people decided to stop at. We're actually at the Shell gas station off of Cleveland Street. And they actually just closed up shop about 10 minutes ago and cut the lights off. But a lot of people here were saying that they were lucky to get home. We spoke with a few people here at the gas station who were driving from New Orleans back here. And they were kind of getting through all of that rain. They heard reports of some of that flooding near their homes and near some of their family members. So luckily they were able to get home. Now, St. Tammany Parish has been preparing for this storm since yesterday, and tonight, of course, we are seeing the impacts. Several fire districts offered to help residents who may need to evacuate before rising water makes the roads impassable. Now, officials in both St. Tammany and Washington parishes are expecting significant rainfall, with some areas forecast to see up to 15 inches. In Slidell, we have city leaders who are also asking residents to foster animals, with more than 60 currently at the animal control shelter. And in Washington Parish, people, of course, keeping a close eye on those rising water levels. On your screen, you've been seeing some photos of Washington Parish festival grounds. Now, Mile Branch, the settlement chair, Lee Davis, who oversees the ground, says that water levels are nearing what the community saw back in 2016 and are starting to threaten historic parish-owned buildings that have been standing since the 1800s. Now, he says that he is hoping that the weather doesn't impact plans for the grounds to host a wedding this weekend.
The wedding's going to go through, but we're going to have to move it up to the very front of the property, which is a lot higher on the hill.
And now, again, going back to St. Tammany Parish, funny enough, we did see a picture that they posted on their Facebook page, and it had hogs walking the road. They were mentioning that the hogs are trying to escape any high water, escape those floods. So they were just kind of out on the street, just walking. We also did speak with a few people here, as I said earlier, at the gas station. We will be hearing more from them later on, Sharice.
Sanana, thank you so much for your update. And our coverage continues in Tango Parish, where they're also seeing some high river levels. Walker Lawson joining us now live along the Tchefuncte River. Walker, what are you seeing in that area?
Well, guys, it was dry here until just a couple of moments ago. One of those bands has now moved through, and we're seeing that heavier rain pick up. Now, as we mentioned, we're right on Campground Road, and earlier today, this road was completely underwater, but now it's dry, so we have seen those levels drop, but there are still areas to the side that have a lot of puddling on them. So water levels have receded from where they were earlier this afternoon as we've gotten a break from the rain, but it has since picked back up. Now, you can see in this video that we shot earlier this afternoon of just how high the water levels are in the Tchefuncte River under the Highway 40 bridge. We spoke to one woman who did not want to show her face or name, but she's lived in the area and worked in the area for over 30 years and says she's very concerned as this area easily floods with the recent rains over the last few weeks, and she's growing weary about people trying to travel here tomorrow.
My concerns is nobody's going to be able to pass through here tomorrow if this weather is as bad as they claim it's going to be. I've been here 34 years and I've seen water. I've seen cars get stalled. I recommend if the water is up, do not go through.
And of course, we'll continue to monitor conditions here through the overnight hours as we're expecting some heavier rain to move through. Reporting in Tango County, I'm Walker Lawson, WWL, Louisiana.
All right, Walker, some good advice there. If you turn around and don't drown, cliche, but very great advice to have. All right, the city of New Orleans is under a state of emergency tonight. That will last through 7 a.m. Friday. Already, they have made several preparations for the rainfall. The NOPD moved boats to each police district and put up barricades in flood-prone areas. And Public Works inspected and secured active construction sites. You can call 311 24/7 for non-emergencies. We also talked to the Sewage and Water Board about how many pumps are working. Alyssa Curtis has a look at the agency's drainage capacity.
There's a good chance New Orleans will experience some flooding during and after Tropical Storm Arthur. Sewage and Water Board says they're already prepping, but they want to remind residents there are limitations to how fast their system can work. Sewage and Water Board says their operations team already started lowering canal levels to increase stormwater storage. They say 87 of 93 drainage pumps are currently available. Turbine 6 is available if needed, but Turbine 5 is out of service. The utility says they have installed a new temporary pump at the Carrollton Underpass since the station's 3 permanent pumps are out of service. All other underpass pumping stations are operational. They're also reminding residents that their drainage system can only handle a certain amount of water in a certain amount of time, approximately 1 inch of rainfall during the first hour of a storm and a ½ inch of rainfall every hour after. For example, if there are 3 inches of rain in 1 hour, it may take up to 5 hours to drain. Of course, we're keeping a close eye on flooding, but if you see flooding, you can let us at WWL Louisiana know. Text us photos at 504-529-4444. And you can report leaks or other water-related emergencies to the utility at 52 Water. Alyssa Curtis, WWL Louisiana.
And Jefferson Parish keeping its emergency operations center open through the night as well. While the parish is not expected to get the worst of the impacts, Public Works crews still spent the day clearing catch basins. 196 of the 198 pump stations are working. Jefferson Parish President Cynthia Lee Sheng warned drivers not to drive down flooded streets, that is especially those next to a canal, because it's really hard to tell where the road ends and the open water begins.
Whenever it comes to flooding like this in Jefferson Parish, I'm always really trying to message, please do not try to take your car through a road that looks like it might be shallow, but you just never know where you are, especially if you're not familiar with where you're going.
Well, Grand Isle Mayor David Carmondale says the town's drainage pumps are also ready to go, though he expects the worst of Arthur to track north of the island towards central Louisiana. And a heads up to parents in JP, all summer programs have been canceled for tomorrow because of severe weather. That includes extended school year programs, extracurriculars, and summer camps. The school district will update parents on their communication channels and on their website. And remember, you can always find the latest weather updates in live radar on our website, social media pages, and our free app for your phone or television.